Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Sunday. This is your Sunday Journey session. Thank you for being here. I'm Sarah Denby. I do East Coast partnerships at Zynga. We are a world leader in interactive entertainment, and we're the #1 reach in mobile games. I'm here with these extraordinary ladies from Kenvue. Give it up for Kenvue. If you could each introduce yourselves, what your role is, and how long you've been with the company, that would be awesome.
Amazing. Good morning, everyone. We drew the last straw, so we got the Sunday morning slot on behalf of Kenvue. So thanks for bearing with us. My name is Tanvi Thaker. I am the director of Omni Performance. I sit between our shopper marketing and e-commerce organization supporting a small mom and pop retailer called Walmart. If you might have one or two here in
Very
Texas.
small.
I have been with J&J and now Kenvue coming up on almost 15 years. I know, crazy.
It's long.
Long.
It's a long time. Good morning, everyone. I am Brianna Chamberlain. I am the integrated media lead for our Zarbees and supplements business. So that's part of our newly formed connected commerce organization. So it's a really, really fun time. I've been with J&J also formerly, now Kenvue, for a little over 5 years.
And good morning, everybody. I am Jocelin Schultz. I have been with the company for about 8 years. Much like these girls, we started as children, as you can tell.
Yeah.
So I've been there for 8 years. I lead our media operations and innovation team. So I care about all of our brands equally. They're all special. And I'm here to help make sure collectively we operate the best we can as an organization in the media space.
Awesome. You guys have all been there a really long time, which says a lot about an organization. And there had been a name change. So if you want to provide a little background to what it used to be, I think people will be a little more familiar.
Yeah, so people say, what's Kenvue? Kenvue used to be known as Johnson & Johnson Consumer Health. So brands like Neutrogena, Aveeno, Tylenol, Motrin, that's our world. We were spun off last year. We're almost a year old. So we have very old brands, but we are a brand new company.
Great.
So I can say I've been here a year rather than the
Yeah.
15-year mark. That's good.
So you're brand new.
Let's reverse it.
Yeah.
We'll
We're
reverse
getting
it.
younger.
Just a little
That's how we like to
startup.
think of it.
Little startup.
Well, thank you for that background. That's a good leader into our icebreaker. So as we just heard, there's many iconic brands under the Kenvue umbrella. So my question is, if you were one of those brands, which would you be and why? And I can start. I would be Band-Aid because I'm a klutz and I always need to patch things up. I also like how Band-Aid can help your personality shine. There's so many cool designs and colors and new features. So that would be mine.
That's a good one. I previous to this role, I was the brand marketer leading Aveeno Face. So I will stay loyal to that gem of a brand, particularly the Calm and Restore platform, because I think as a personality, I aspire to be Calm and Restore, and my team in the back would tell you I'm neither. So we'll go with that one.
When I started, I was on Listerine, so I'm gonna go Listerine. It's bold, it's fresh, and I feel like I try to bring that to my everyday life.
It's a good one.
Wow, I'm going to pick the brand I started on too. I started on Johnson's Baby. Woo! So yeah, I'm a mom. I like colors and being bold in a different way, but also being caring. And I think that's what that brand should be.
All great answers. So now we're going to jump into some of the content. Keeping with the theme of change, as the name had changed, when we met to discuss today's panel, you guys all spoke about the evolution of your organization and breaking down silos to operate more as one. Would you be able to give us some insight into how that unfolded, what old habits you needed to break, and what that new skill set looks like in the day-to-day? Tanvi, I'll start with you.
Sure. So how many people have heard this weekend that marketing is no longer linear? And it's dynamic, and it's at this massive intersection
Nobody.
of change.
Nobody.
I mean, okay. Wait, this is a two-way
Not a one.
conversation, people.
Guys, the Bloody Marys are the best.
Participate.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you.
We're here
Thank
to
you, Matt. I'm
educate.
glad you asked that question, right? So the touch points, particularly of how we reach and engage and convert consumers, is very much integrated. We as an organization had to be quite declarative and say, our functional silos don't really work anymore. We can't be marketing and targeting and doing digital media or trying to drive e-commerce acceleration as separate silos, right? We all have the same joint effort. And so one of the first things we stood up as Kenvue was breaking our silos across those specific disciplines and integrating as one end-to-end team. Many of you may have heard Matt Fantasia speak, right? Matt's our head of media. We work very closely on national and retail media strategies. So that has been one area in which we shook stuff up and we organized ourselves differently. I get to work with Jocelin and Brianna on a day-to-day basis on how we then take that structure and strategy and execute it flawlessly. So if you guys want to build on.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. So culturally as an organization, we were historically wildly decentralized. Wildly so. And so we've been on a journey, for those of you who have been here other days.
Mimosa.
To unwind that a little bit, to Tanvi's point. And some of it is structural and some of it is cultural. We had to not have different incentives across the team. Tanvi working with Walmart needs to have the same incentives at the end of the day as Bree has working on Zarbee's, right? At the end of the day, we're selling more products through our retailers. So how do we make sure we have aligned incentives across the organization? How do we make sure, even if you don't report to the same boss, which now most of us, in fact, we all do, at the end of the day. We didn't before. I think we would have 2 years ago. We had 3 completely different end of the day bosses. Yep. That makes it very difficult. So we've made a lot of structural changes. We still like to do things our own way, each of us, but at the end of the day, we're much more aligned to the end goal than we've ever been before.
I mean, if you think about where we try to reach consumers across the journey, right? It is that journey, and we need to replicate that journey internally as well. So if we need to reach point A to point B along the different partners that we work with across like cross-functionals, then that's how. So we're being a little distracted. We need to hold these close, apparently, guys. I
Just got a note.
We have to read the note on the floor. It says, hold mics very close to mouth. So
you're a very good drawer. You didn't even need the words.
I mean,
the image told us what to do.
An illustrated example. Yeah. It's very impressive.
But no, I think as we think about how we structure our internal setup, right? We are trying to reach consumers across the journey, and we almost have to replicate that internally as well. So we need to break down those touch points for the consumers to get our products and easier to get our products, and we need to all work collectively to make that happen as well.
So Jocelyn talked about we had to unlearn things. Mm-hmm. Here's the cool part of what we did. We also got to create brand new positions and roles and structures. The 3 of us these roles that we're sitting in didn't exist a year and a half ago.
Yep.
Right. And that's exciting as we talk about change agency and what motivates and excites us. Like, we are building the change that we want Kenvue to be, which is huge.
Yeah, it's huge. We're going to move on to brand equity now. You each work on different brands. Mm-hmm. Brand equity is not enough. So since you're representing some of the most iconic brands, we talked about Band-Aid, Vino, Neutrogena, Listerine, Motrin's another one. They all have brand equity, but with new generations of consumers, the proliferation of media choices, brand equity, it's not enough. So, Jocelin, would you be able to tell us how to approach this brave new marketing world to keep your products top of mind for consumers in their purchase journey and ultimately on their shelves at home? And then, Brianna, if you could expand for Zarbee's specifically.
Yeah, I think, is this better? Oh, he's gone. Okay.
Are we doing it?
You guys can hear me, right? All right. So for us, it's around, and I think Matt spoke about this too, so this is a little repetitive, but consumers are inherently unloyal. And I think we have to remember that think about how you shop just in general, and you walk into the store and there are certain products you're just going to buy on default, and there's other products you're going to explore more, and we have brands across that spectrum. We don't think hard. Like, we're not a car. You don't have to put a lot of research into, what soap are you going to buy, but some people do. And so you have to be able to meet all the different consumers that matter to you where they are. And so use the right channels to do the right steps in the right place. Experiment a little bit. You might think they really care about your claim that you just spent 6 months building, and nobody ever even remembers it ever. I promise you guys, you don't know 99.9% of the claims we've worked really, really hard on about a single one of our brands. So, remembering that, feel or seem bigger or be bigger, ideally both. That's where we are now, is helping the brands have the right channels, have the right approach in the channels with the right partners to enable that, and then learn together and be willing to make some errors, but not be so far deep you can't pull back and then try something different. That's kind of how we set it up, and then the brands take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's keeping it simple, right? So we really wanted to take that step back on Zarbee's and say, like, how do we really take a niche category and start to grow that, but really be top of mind for parents outside of a need state? And when you have a need state child, parents are really looking for that care. But we need to be there and frame of mind always, not just when mom needs us. So through our creative and through like an always on strategy and maintaining that visibility and that relevance to every parent out there, we're able to tell a different story outside of our traditional moments. And by keeping it simple on the right platforms, we're reaching parents where they are at all times. So it's not just mom when she needs us, it's mom everywhere, and redefining kind of what that means.
I know a great place where you can find them. Mobile gaming.
Moms love games. Moms love
A
games.
few ideas. Moms play a lot of games, a lot of hours, a lot of time spent. We're going to jump into breaking barriers, the journey.
Yeah.
It's the word of the weekend. You are in a very unique position. It's between Kenvue and Walmart. You're a living and breathing shopper marketing, which is very in vogue now.
Is it?
I've heard. How are you pioneering that path to conversion with Walmart shoppers to prove Omni impact? And then what inspiration do you get from them along the way?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think this builds perfectly, Jocelyn, off what you were talking about, right? So we have the iconic category leading brands, but how cool is it that I get to be sitting in a position where I can serve them at the largest global retailer, right? And so quite frankly, partnering with Walmart and retail media or shopper marketing is not an emerging trend. It is like a mandatory for us to win as brands. Let's take a single channel, out of home, right? So out of home marketing, super relevant, high reach, high scale, doing it in the right moments, the right places matters. What do you think is the largest out of home placement? It is Walmart, right? You can buy TV walls inside Walmart. You can buy digital billboards. You can paint the store red for Tylenol, right before the cold season. And so it's been really important for me to help educate our organization on our customer and our customers' capabilities and what matters to the shopper at the point of purchase, just as much as it is for me to be an advocate on behalf of our brands and the brand equity and growth strategy that we believe. So it's bringing the two intersections together. We work extremely closely with Walmart Connect and our national media strategies, how they can be complementary, how we can use their first-party data to better reach and acquire real humans, right, rather than random bots. So that's a big part of it. I also think shopper marketing is so rich in that there's in-store touch points, there's the digital element of like the social spaces that we do as brand leads, but then there's also out of the box ideas around we've created and curated custom innovation like Band-Aid that's exclusively available at Walmart. We used their data, their shoppers, our brands, and created custom solutions for that, right? So those are some of the cool areas of how the two intersections meet.
That's pretty cool that you have done that. That's such a deep partnership with Walmart. I didn't even know
and we
that
need
they
them
had
just as, right? Like we need them just as much as they need our brands. And so this change journey we've been on has really brought the customer at the center, whether it be a Target or an Amazon or a Walmart, to be part of that value and growth equation.
That's huge.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about you guys for a little bit. You're all fierce, trailblazing women with great energy and chemistry with one another. It's no surprise to anyone here, I'm sure. How are you harnessing this energy with your organization and with your external partners? And then what are you disrupting internally to be more relevant externally? Brianna, if you want to take this one.
I mean, I think you have to we optimize media all the time, right? We're always looking to do something better and faster, and we need to bring and optimize our ways of working as well. So I think when we're so externally focused at like, what is the next big thing? How do we disrupt? How do we make change? We also need to make change internally, so that way we can support that external change and really be disruptive. So to me, I think that word optimize is something that we need to start thinking about beyond kind of the media play, but also how are we continuing to grow? Again, we were now all in roles that didn't exist. So we are ever changing with that landscape, and maintaining that momentum will ultimately make us disruptive marketers in our space and differentiate our brands within the portfolio.
And we're in a moment where like we're trying to break shit, right? Yep. So the nice thing is we have these legacy brands that have come with us as Kenvue, but we're essentially a startup in year one trying to figure out how to do this as a standalone, right? Without the safety net of this big conglomerate. We have to be okay saying something's not working and pivoting and stopping that and putting our energy in this space. That takes a bold, disruptive leaders with a voice, and I'm glad that we have the space to do that. I say no often.
You guys, we have a fun job. Like everybody in this room, I think probably has a fun job, but our team, our collective group is by far the funnest group to be in the whole organization. Right?
Yeah,
it is, right? Our partners who work with us probably agree that we're their favorite clients. Right?
There's a few of you here. Hi, guys.
It is fun what we do, you guys. It's a beautiful day and we're in Austin and there's mimosas flowing. So it is fun because what we do is about creating some energy out in the marketplace. It's about selling relevant, important products to consumers that actually need them. You know, you get to do some storytelling. You get to try stuff. You get to be on platforms that you don't understand because you're not a 17-year-old kid anymore, but you're seeing what they're doing. So you're a little cooler than you would be otherwise if you were just doing some other jobs. Like, you get to be more in with the world. And I think, in the office, we're loud, we're annoying, we're funny. We shout at each other across the hallways. Like, when our team is in the office because we're fun. And I think that's really important. And the more fun we have as a group, the better our stuff is that the consumers see. The more we can do with our partners because we're out having fun with that, not just the fun, but there's the work part that goes with the fun. But it's so much easier to collaborate when you guys are kind of on the same wavelength, and that takes effort, that takes time. But if you don't understand the little nuances, because we're customers like our consumers are, and I understand that for a lot of you guys. So how do you kind of break through how do you understand our language to then get something that is the right thing to do, and we're not understanding it, and we're like, show us more data, show us this. If you don't know what we mean when we say show us more data, it's really hard to succeed. So learn how your clients are speaking. We're very transparent as a group. I think back to the question that we're fearless women, we are very frank and honest and transparent ourselves. I think we hold it internally, but we also act the same externally. We don't act differently outside of the office than we do inside the office. And I think that's really important.
That's huge. And speaking of women power, it is Women's History Month. It's been a big theme here at Brand Innovators. So to end what's been a great conversation, we're going to go around Robin on this one. So what has been and continues to be your superpower strength that you bring to your role that drives you to thrive and that ultimately benefits everyone? Let's start.
The boring one, if you asked anyone at Kenvue, my superpower is to make slides. I make a lot of slides and I make them often. It's kind of my therapy. Though, fun fact, yesterday I sat in the Unicorn Leader session, which was brilliant in the morning, and she had all the slides that were AI versions of unicorns, and I'm going to go back and make a pitch that we need to add some unicorn.
Please.
More whimsy, please. More whimsy.
But on a less tactical note, I would say I think I was lucky to learn early on in my career to embrace change and be a change agent, right? You can try to fight it. You could put all your energy challenging why do things have to move and transform, and why are we pivoting in a year? Or you can be part of that journey, force the change that you want, right? Be disruptive, be bold, be loud, and create the roles that you want for yourself or others that you feel like have just this untapped gift to apply into your organization. So I would say embracing change and leading in the gray is something I run towards.
I love that. Do you want me? I'll go. Sure. I think for me, it's having an appetite to learn. So like there's so many things that are ever changing in our space, but as we grow as marketers, there's always something for us to learn, right? So having that appetite to truly want to change myself and be disruptive so that I can be disruptive for my consumers, I think is something that I've always wanted to keep core to myself, but it also gives me the chance to fail forward, right? And embrace that failure, because without the failure, we're never growing and we're never going to do cool shit. So I want to keep doing cool shit for Kenvue and my brands and maintain that momentum.
And I would say my work one is that I simplify the complex. I'm good at that. Yeah. But the real one is nothing is that serious. Yeah. I don't know if you can tell. I'm wearing sparkles. I did go home. This wasn't my outfit last night. But
we can vouch for that.
But
I brought you your blazer this morning. What are you talking about?
So, but in reality,
I'm kidding, but she did not wear this last time.
But the point is, like, nothing's that serious, you guys. We sell soap. Like, at the end of the day, we sell soap and other things. But that keeping perspective is so important, and I think that that's my job, because we've made a lot of change. We've been living change on change on change on change. It's exhausting. People get confused. People just need a little bit of direction of where do I need to worry and where do I not. Yeah. So I think for me, it's making sure people don't unnecessarily worry and don't get caught up in the wrong things and stay focused on what matters.
All great answers. I have no idea how we are on time, but I think we can open it up to some Q&A if anyone out there has any questions.
Or the bar is still open.
Yeah. Or someone wants to bring us a mimosa. I'm like really offended.
There is a make your own Bloody Mary bar as well.
Rude, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. In some ways, I would say it hasn't changed at all. And in other ways, it's changed a lot. I think there is more of an energy for risk-taking. But I think we have to be more realistic than we probably have been in the past about how are we going to measure things. Not just measurement for measurement's sake, but just like what's the goal then? Because now our goals matter more. We're not buried. So if we want to say, hey, this thing has to drive an ROI, we have to be more real about that fact. If we say this is about getting distribution, we need to be really clear on that. So we're making similar decisions, but the meat behind them probably takes on a different weight. And so we just have to have the right way we're gonna go about it. But at the end of the day, I still feel like we're doing a lot of the same stuff. We just now can be more vocal about what we're doing.
I will say, though, Jocelyn, risk-taking also comes with autonomy of decision-making, right? And I get the privilege of running a badass team in Walmart, and they will pilot and test, and they know their boundaries of what's tolerable risk to go test it and without having to go up the ranks for decision making. So that's been a welcome change around, we call it owner's mindset, right? Everyone has autonomy and owner's mindset of what they're being really put in charge to do. And some of that comes with some healthy risk and intuition and decision making. Just have the accountability then to say, did it work or it didn't? And if it didn't, what are we going to do about it? I mean, it's not going to lie. It's taking me a minute to say I'm a Kenviewer, right? Like even the name adoption took a bit. But what I love about your question on identity is we are also the end consumers of our brands. I was using Neutrogena and Tylenol well before I even joined this organization, right? So it's very relatable. If I was up here and I was saying I'm leading selling of, I don't know, cowboy boots, right? Like it might fit a little bit differently versus like I am an end consumer a lot of the categories we play in, which is fun in terms of shaping my identity.
Yeah, I think the one thing too is that we also have great brands that we brought with us, right? So I think a lot of us actually tie better and relate and resonate better with the individual brands in our portfolio than relying on J&J versus Kenvue. And I think the consumers view us that way as well, right? They don't go, I bought a J&J Band-Aid. They go, I bought a Band-Aid or I bought Listerine. So I think there's a lot to say in the brand equity and the power that we have in our brands because we believe in them. So I think as long as we believe in them, the consumers are continuing to believe in them as well.
Kenvue needs to be our culture.
Yes.
Our identity are ourselves first and foremost, because at the end of the day, we're just selling soap, like
Yep.
Jocelin likes to say. But our awareness are the
Exactly.
individual brands.
Exactly. I mean, I can jump in for Zarbee's because Zarbee's is a unique business where we thrived during the pandemic, and it's been definitely challenging coming out of that, especially in a space that is disruptive, right? So supplements and that space is growing at a rate that truthfully you can't keep up, right? So I think what we really need to think about is like the message that we're reaching the consumer at. And this actually came up in a panel yesterday where we were talking about brand loyalty and equity. And you may not be the always choice, but how do you be the favorite or the preferred at shelf? And I think that's ultimately what we're trying to do. So I think that that's really the way to come out of the pandemic. You take those insights, how the consumer's buying the product, the behaviors that they have, and then change your strategy to meet them where they're shopping. So you can't market the same way that we did 4 years ago.
I mean, I'll give you a very real example, right? I lead Walmart.com and growing our digital business. Pre-pandemic, we saw massive necessity of new consumers trying digital and .com, but Walmart was the first to return back to normalcy, and all those consumers went right back into stores, right? And so we sat for a minute, and when I say a minute, a solid year of complacency and no growth and no digital penetration, and we looked at ourselves and like, what the hell do we do, right? And it created this awesome insight and opportunity to say, well, figure out what's preventing them from being multi-channel shoppers, partner with retailers and our platforms and all the different capabilities to say, how do we serve them with awareness around the benefits of pickup, or what are some added incentives they could get to buy online or subscribe and save in addition to in-store. So we had to completely change our equation to win the consumer, whether she's in store or she's online or anywhere in between. And by doing that, what we actually found out is the Kenvue shopper was 5 times more valuable from a consumer lifetime value when she was shopping across 3 channels than singularly, and it was all incremental. So it wasn't like she was switching, I'm going to go buy Aveeno in store today and Neutrogena online tomorrow. Like, she was building her entire Kenvue portfolio by doing it that way.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.